Okay, so now that we have let this dry and it's all together, we're gonna go ahead and get our leather ready. So I'm not going to be able to see a lot of this mark, but we're going to know about how big we're going to want our little piece of leather. And I actually trim mine before I'm doing fingernail posts, and I think that's what I'm going to do because there's just not very many videos out there to help you know how to put those in. That was a learning experience for me. Because again, I had to teach myself how to do that. So I'm going to actually cut on the outside of my line. If you've ever measured anything and cut, you will either cut on the line, to the left of the line, or to the right of the line. So the left is usually on the inside of the line, to the right is usually on the outside of the line. So I'm going to be cutting to the right side of my line. And I can trim it up and fix my shape after I get it all put together, but it's really important to get kind of a general shape so that you can know where your middle of your leather will be. So I'm going to cut just a piece of this off. Got these scissors for like $5 at Michael's. So now I'm going to go ahead, and you probably can't see too much, but there's a circle in there, and that's the line I'm going to be cutting on the outside and the edge of. There are all kinds of ways people do their leather. This is just how I do it. I'm usually doing 3 to 6 pair at a time, so that's really misshapen, right? It's okay though. We just need to be able to find our middle. Okay. Make sure we can have a middle. So now this is our fingernail post. It opens, secures it to the ear. These are really good for the heavier beaded earrings, like these. So it keeps it so it's a little more secure. It won't fall off. There's not so much drag as you're moving. So these are the preferred ones. Those little disc post ones don't seem to have enough disc to keep them set, so eventually they will loosen up and the glue will break. So this is generally what we're looking for. So how I start is I keep it closed. And I'm going to line it up to about how far I would like it to come down. This is a really small earring, so I don't have to worry about the weight so much. And I'm going to have a little bit of space right here. And remember, we have to edge, so we cannot have it just right up at the edge. We're going to have to be able to bring our needle through. So I'm going to have it down a little bit, making sure I'm in the middle. And this is the only line I draw. There's a lot of other lines and crazy techniques people use for these. This is the only line I draw. Okay. And that line is only for one purpose. I'm going to fold this in half. And then I'm going to use that line as my guide to make a small snip. So, very small. Okay, just big enough to begin to cut the leather. This is really thick leather though. And that's what we're looking for. I'm going to take my blade. I'm going to stick it in there just a little bit because I know I need to have it a little bit wider. Alright, and so this is the inside. This is going to be next to my earring. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the actual back of this. This is the back of the earring. And we're going to feed that through. And then we come up to this part, and we're going to just feed one side at a time. Okay, we have that through now. So now, we're going to have to find where we want this. This will actually set whether you're going to have it in the middle or it's going to be off to the side. And so you got to take your time with this part to make sure it is where you want it to be. So there's a little wiggle room here. I don't know if you can see that. Try to make sure it's in the middle. So I'm going to make a little impression right here so that I can see it. Gotta be careful though because you can actually bend the post part. So making sure I can see that. I'm going to take my little pokey tool and that's what I'm going to poke through. Okay, try again. Oh, it's my bed. I'm going to turn whatever you have to poke. Sewing needle would work. Beading needles don't work because they're too small. And you just want to make sure, oops, that it's coming all the way through. So just kind of keep turning it. My X-Acto knife works pretty good too, but I don't know where that's at. So we are coming through. And we need it to be about the same width as our post. And so I'm going to go a little bit more. Okay, feed our post through. Oops. And there we are. So this is the beginnings of the finishing. So because this is so small, I don't need to reinforce this with any kind of cardboard or anything. It's just mostly cab. So this leather is so thick, I just don't see it bending at all. So now we gotta get our glue. And this is mostly where people will do the clamps, is in this process, and I don't. So on this, you're going to kind of feed your leather down a little bit, that post. And I take a little bit, clean this off. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit onto the tip of it, and then I'm going to just wipe it down there. Onto the other side, same thing. Then I'm going to bring my leather all the way, and you can kind of see that it's squished around it. And then I'm going to put some here, like at the tip, down this, and just a little bit to the sides, because we're going to sew this on, so it's not really that important. What's most important is getting this to be stuck. We're going to find the top of our earring, which are at the top, and then I'm going to put just a little bit right here to create that bond. So now, making sure that I'm lining up my post to the top of my earring. Gotta make sure it's in the right direction. And then what I do to check it is I will hold it by the post and I will let it dangle. And if it looks like it's still sitting up straight, then we're good. If it looks like it's a little bit at an angle, then you're going to turn it just a little bit. A little bit at a time. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Over just a little bit more. You don't have that long before the bond starts actually being made, before it congeals with the leather and the pellon and your thread and that metal. You just don't have forever. You do have a couple minutes though. Okay. There we go. Looks good. And now I'm going to let that dry again, probably for only an hour, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to trim off this extra around. That's why I said it doesn't really matter. As long as you're in the middle of your earring, that's what's most important. And if this is off, sometimes this can look off, and you can turn it to wherever the middle would be. There you go. So it looks funny because the leather is not absolutely round, but it will become the shape of the earring when we come back to finish it. So not too difficult. Alright, and I will be back in an hour.